starting.
You see your words coming up. It's recording.
All right, there it is. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. It's really good to just be on video again with you guys all. Today we've actually got Rodney Pennington. This is Rodney and I. We've been serving together for a number of years.
Long time.
Yep. It was 2013, 2012 or
Yep.
so.
Yeah.
Yep. And we just want to first of all thank you guys all for praying for us and advocating for us in the season here. We are in a season of focus support raising, and so we just really just cover your prayers and just for the various introductions many of you guys have made for us on our behalf. Just as a quick little reminder too, this series we're calling it BBB, Beyond Brian and Becky, or Beside Brian and Becky. But really the main point here is just to get some more stories from what God is doing in and through OMF. And I just, as I thought about people who would be great for this year, Rodney was right at the top of my list there. And so, Rodney, I mean, I'd love to maybe if you want to share real quickly just about yourself, your family, where you grew up, education, and maybe how you met OMF kind of thing.
Yeah. First off, I thought BBB was Buffalo Bills, baby.
Yeah.
I thought that's our podcast show for the day. No, just kidding. But I did support my Bills
Oh boy.
fan club stuff. No, yeah. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, just actually outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, a little town called Owasso. Grew up in a broken family. God was always a part of our lives. My mother was just a faithful prayer warrior, always. But through those years of seeing stuff that was unfolding between her and my dad and the family and all that kind of stuff was hard. I didn't really have much of a relationship in the sort of the aspects of my faith journey with God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit at the time, but He was moving. And as I got towards the high school years, more and more things started to come together, and it became more obvious that there truly was a God, a creator, and Jesus was his son, and the things that Jesus or that are written about Jesus in the Gospel and the New Testament were true and accurate. And gave my life to Christ the summer before my senior year of high school. And from that moment, I was all in. I was go 100%. I knew I was being led into ministry. Went off to Ozark Christian College after finishing high school to start that path into ministry. I was the kid that showed up on campus that I didn't know there were multiple denominations or what any of that meant. I didn't know New Testament from Old Testament. I was just a kid in a candy store, excited to learn. And those were really blessed years. Was dating a young lady at the time, Amanda, who was my high school sweetheart. We eventually got married. We moved to Kansas, where actually at 19 years old, I was called into pastor a church out in Parsons, Kansas, as the associate pastor. We eventually moved out there. Spent a few years out there, just blessed in pastoral ministry, working with the youth and the adults. Wonderful time, amazing elders, beautiful congregation, true church family that taught me, a young man that knew very little about the scripture, many great life lessons. And they set us on a path really of success in ministry because of how they cared and loved on us as a young couple in ministry, kind of learning the ropes. Was there for a little while, got called up to Canada, the Toronto area with the North American Mission Board and Canadian Convention of Southern Baptists. Went out there, were with them for a few years doing church planting. Had some obviously ups and downs and many trials, errors, but God still showed up, did amazing things. We're blessed to be a part of 2 church plants. And then went to, during that time up in Canada, we had our first child, Michaelin. I also went overseas to Cambodia, did some work over there in Cambodia and Vietnam, was blown away by the need, heard about unreached people groups, heard about people who'd never had the gospel in their lives, went and saw it firsthand, broke my heart, just knew, God, if this was the direction that we were meant to be in, lead us in that direction. Came back from that trip, started praying, Through a long process of looking into what God was doing in multiple missions fellowships amongst unreached people groups, we were introduced to OMF up in Canada, and that began our process where we just fell in love with the mission, vision, values, started the process in Canada, joined OMF US because we're US citizens, still supported through Canada and some of the church families that support us up there. And came back, and I think it was about 8 months. Amanda, myself, and our 1-year-old daughter, Michaela, were heading overseas to Thailand. And we're there for many years. We had 2 more kids, worked with the Northern Thai people, helped the Mekong region where we worked, run their short-term ministries, got involved in different leadership aspects. Then God called us to the States to join Mobilization back in 2012. And that's where you and I met, probably in that 2012, 2013 range, and started working with what we're doing here in mobilizing the church in the U.S. to get involved in missions here. We also had our fourth child, Boston. 2 were born in Thailand, and then Michaela was born in Canada. And then obviously we got on a pattern. If we moved to a new country, we got to have a child.
New
Moved
child.
back to the
Yeah.
States and had Boston, our boy.
Yeah. Love
So
it. Love it.
that's the Cliff
Awesome.
Note version for those who remember
Yeah.
Cliff Notes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate that. I had a quick question. I mean, obviously, you during your time in Thailand, and you got a chance to work with, to literally travel to so many different countries over there. You were running short-term trips at the time as well, facilitating so many different kinds of short-term kind of initiatives and ministries. Maybe is there a funny or kind of a cultural story that you maybe want to share just with us, just around like a cultural mistake, a boo-boo, or some sort of like mistranslation? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just a fun little.
Like all the
Yeah.
time. The first
All
you
the
could
time,
have
yeah.
you could write a book on our first 3 years of language learning in Thailand about all the mistakes that you make. Thailand's a tonal language, and there's 6 tones in it. So depending on the tone that you use, one word could be multiple different words. So it's frequent that you just mess it up. And so, you got to have a sense of humor to survive, because when you go out there and you start practicing your Thai, they'll laugh, they'll make fun of you, and that's fine. But they also do respect the fact that you're learning it. One of the biggest ones that always sort of ingrained into my mind was we were going to go away for a period of time, and we had our landlord that I needed to return the keys to the house to while we were gone, and went to visit her, and my friend who we were doing ministry with, Greg Hortman, went with me. And I just, this lady was highly respected, highly revered in Thai society. And so there's an honorable way to approach her, do all these kinds of things. You got to be accurate and all this kind of stuff, because you don't want to offend her, and she's the landlord and all these kinds of stuff. So I approach her as, best I can. I reach down, hand the keys over, tell her, I need to return the keys for a period of time because we're going away, and then I'll come back and get them. And then the whole place just starts erupting in laughter, and Greg's laughing too. And okay, I made a big mistake, and start to walk back and go, what did I say? And he goes, you just asked her if she'll hold your pants for you while you're gone for the next couple of weeks, and then you'll return them, or you'll come back to get them when you return.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So yeah, I've come here to give you my pants, and I'll
please hold them for me.
back up. Yeah. Because the term for key and pants are very similar.
What's the word for key, and what's the word for pants?
I can't even remember at this point. We've been gone so long.
Got it. Okay, so, no problem.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
But that happens all the time.
Yeah, I love it. Roddy, one of the things, so right when you came back, obviously you joined the mobilization team, and you guys spent, a little close to a decade in Thailand, obviously completely different context than the U.S. church. And as you came back, one of the things I really appreciate about you is just your constant desire to really understand the U.S. church, and to really understand like the context that we're serving. And and so just this idea of, we're always trying to understand the context of what's happening overseas and amongst East Asia's peoples around the world, and also the context of the US church. Just maybe over the past, 10, 15 years now, or maybe more recently, what have you seen as far as, the types of people, or the types of people that would quote unquote be a fit to
Mm.
potentially be mobilized to, yeah, to serve in a cross-cultural context? Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do. I have a deep passion for the church, the real church, not a man-made concept of what church does or is or those kinds of things. There's a beautiful truth, and a reality that secular culture and Satan, his dominion, cannot defeat um, the power of what God created the church to be when it is actually the church. And you can't deny the impact that it does make and will continue to make locally as well as across, all borders. If the church pushes forward being what the church is meant to be. And a large part of that is people um, united with God in his will and his mission for all peoples of the earth. Um, so the type of people that fit well within this kind of work are those that are pursuing that path, what it means to be in unity with God. Because when you get to that point, and it's a lifelong journey, and everybody's at different stages at different points in their discipleship journey in life, and this growing in union with God and his will and his plan for all things happening across the world. It's a growing process. It's a stage. But when you get into that, you slowly realize that to follow the way of Christ is to walk with just palms up, surrendering all things. There's no limitation to what you would do, or you don't cling to anything created as an idol or a potential hurdle to climb over to make the next steps for what God wants. Because what we do in this world of missions, and in our particular context of reaching unreached peoples throughout East and Southeast Asia, um, you can't take what most of us grow up in, the concept of church, as kind of a cookie cutter, and carry that into a new culture context, people and all that kind of stuff, and think that that's going to apply there in the same way. There's so many nuances, so many changes to it. It's such a unique ministry, learning new cultures, customs, languages, all these types of things to be able to relate to people who have never heard Jesus, didn't know the God of creation, all these kinds of things, and present that to them. It takes somebody who is on that journey of growing deeper in their unity with
Yeah.
God.
The, we've been to literally hundreds of conferences together, and I mean, I think you just nailed that point there. We've literally had people come to us with a missions resume in hand, and
Yep.
while like that is amazing, and that is we love that, and it has their references, it has like their achievements and their degrees, and but above all else, what the types of people that thrive. I think that idea of a open-handed, open-palmed posture, and that's something that, yeah, you don't write that on a paper kind of thing, and that's something
Yeah.
that yeah, I think one of our ministries, equipping, they really get to just to walk with people and understand,
Yeah.
um, that kind of character, that kind of journey that someone is on, and in many ways, that's more of that is definitely a qualitative aspect versus some of the quantitative, like do you have a degree, do you have,
Yeah.
do you have the grades or whatever it is, not necessarily you have the grades, but yeah, but that kind of idea there, yeah, I love that.
And those things are helpful. They're
Yeah,
not wrong,
no,
and they're
yeah,
needed in many cases.
yeah,
But it starts with that person that looks back at you in the mirror every day
yeah.
and saying, "Am I actually surrendering my
Mm,
life to Christ?" And in whatever the call is, I will move into.
yeah,
That could be, Lord, are you calling me to go overseas and work with certain people groups in certain areas? Or it could be, Lord, are you calling me to stay where I am, yet support these types of work amongst these types of people and this type of outreach through
yeah,
prayer or giving or, whatever.
yeah,
And that's been the path. You mentioned the equipping team, and they're our
yeah,
team that begins that journey of discernment with the Holy Spirit for those individuals coming to us, exploring the possibility of going long term.
yeah,
And along that journey, it may be discovered as they grow more unified with God and surrendering everything that their journey is to move forward,
yeah,
or it might be directed in a different area.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a process, but yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
yeah. I love that. Appreciate that. Roddy, one of the things you said just earlier is that you and I 100% when you said I love the U. Love the church, and I'm obsessed with just serving the church and learning about the church kind of thing. Um, one of the things I used to say with our college fellowship is that it was a parachurch organization just like OMF. We would always say we're not the church. We would love to help you find a church and help you belong
Mm.
to the church, all that stuff, right? And same thing with OMF. OMF, we plant churches, we help churches, all that stuff, but we are not the church kind of thing. Maybe and one, obviously the biggest audience that we get to serve is the U.S. church. What are maybe if you have what's been encouraging to you that as you have got a chance to just to serve the U.S. church, and maybe what's one challenge that you would want to give to the U.S. church?
Um, so as the organization is not the church. The church is the individuals and the gathering of the individuals, and that happens all over the world. Right now, you and I are together. We are the church. The church is gathered. Just today, we get to use technology to do it in a unique way. Um, I, so your second question is one of the challenges to the church, right?
What
Um,
encourages what encourages you about the church, and what maybe what's one challenge that you would give for the church?
yeah. So the challenge would be we have to redefine what church really is,
Hmm.
and what it means to be the church as an individual, as well as the ecclesia, the gathering of the church, as more of a local corporate gathering, and how that unfolds in our lives in all aspects, individually as well as together. And in doing that, that goes back to that we learn as a group how to walk again with palms up, surrendering. What does it mean to fully surrender to God and his calling in our lives so that we seek his will above all things and would literally lay down whatever it is we need to follow that path forward. Western, in some Western congregations, that's become kind of skewed. What does it mean to seek deeper unity or to seek the path towards full unity with God and surrendering in all things? There's a whole we could do a whole podcast on discipleship in the Western church, how in many regards the model has led people to a point of intellectual belief, but not stepping beyond the belief and into the actual act of following what you claim to believe in. Um, so that's a different show. Um,
Part two
but
coming up.
that's part two coming up. That's right. So my challenge to the church is to re-engage what the church is and what the church's mission actually is,
Mm.
because it changes everything. The
Yeah.
mission of the church has been laid out for us. It's the Great Commission: go and make disciples of all nations. Um, so when you do that, that's where this beautiful movement comes. That means what's happening in my backyard, what's happening, in my neighborhood, what's happening in my community, beyond my state lines, potentially beyond our own borders, as a church individually and as a church collectively as we gather. So yeah, I think, does that answer one or both?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Rodney, but one other thing that I mean, your home church over in Skytook, right outside of Tulsa,
Mhm.
Oklahoma. I think one of the things that I mean has been really, I mean, one of the very few things. I have never visited church before, but from I think we got a chance to connect with your pastor and from some other people. Your church, you guys have adopted an unreached people group in Asia,
Mhm.
and I think one of the things that I mean it's really neat is that right when you walk in, that is apparent.
Mhm.
And maybe I don't know, maybe I'd love to kind of just hear just kind of what that impact has been like. I believe right when you walk in there to your guys' front, like kind of the little lobby area,
Mhm.
there's pictures of the peoples that you guys have adopted, are praying for, are sending short-term trips to, are supporting missionaries that are reaching those that specific people group there. Maybe I'd love to just kind of hear just what's the impact been on the church as your church has kind of leaned into that there.
Yeah, so we were blessed that when we moved back to this area, the Tulsa area, only about 4 years ago, we actually moved into this specific area, and Sky took the same time that Chad Thompson and his family were moving to this area, who became the new lead pastor of the fellowship that we're locally a part of here in Skytook. Chad's had his feet involved in missions for a long time. Worked with the missions organization. They did much work down in South America, Suriname. Has a real heart and passion for unreached peoples. So he's very knowledgeable of it. He's been involved in it. So as he's coming here to lead this church family that he's a part of, and we came at the same time and we got connected, it was like, oh, this was a God ordained thing, because now two people who are very passionate and families that are very
Mm.
passionate about missions and missions involvement came together to engage this new church family that we're both becoming a part of at the same time. So that's been a beautiful journey, because it has been a process of helping our brothers and sisters here locally understand, again, what it means to walk that path towards unity with God, with hands open and willing to surrender everything. And a big part of that is what might our involvement in global missions be, and bringing in our team, Link Asia, and other trainers and coaches to start teaching classes and workshops, resources, providing resources that we have to teach the church about God's heart for the nations, missions involvement, member care for your missionaries, all these kinds of things, and seeing people start to gravitate towards that and get involved in that. And as you said, now you can walk into the building, and first thing you see is a giant. One of the first things you see is a giant map on the wall with the 1040 window marked out on it, and these plaques that talk about what is the 1040 window, what is an unreached people group, the unreached people group that we've adopted and we're trying to get more involved with in serving. And so yeah, it's been really neat. Even Sunday mornings we'll have what they call just a UPG, or unreached people group update, before the main service.
Mm. Yeah.
So a lot of the times, Drew will do the worship, just a set, whatever you call that, and then someone will come up to do the UPG moment and talk about unreached people groups, the people group that we've focused on, and yeah, kind of give a update to the fellowship there about ways that we're involved and can be involved in the future. And I'm trying to work on a trip later on in the fall
Mm.
to lead
I didn't know that actually.
several of our members
Oh,
overseas back
nice.
to mild stomping grounds in
Mm.
Thailand, and then that'll be for about a week, and then we'll go on to the next place to see the UPG that we're involved with and want to get deeper involved with.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah, just reminded me. Last time you and I traveled internationally, we were in Singapore and we got pulled over by the police because we were
Breaking laws.
riding our bikes on the wrong side of the road. and, and but anyway, so for that's a beware for anyone that goes on a trip with Rodney from yeah
It's
from the
not the
church
first
here.
time I've
Yeah,
interacted with the police.
no, it was good. It was good. Hey, Rodney, I mean, one of the things I know that you've been really focused on this season here is actually podcasts. And, it's been really fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, whenever you and I just hang out just together, over lunch or just, in between our meetings kind of thing, we're always swapping podcasts, just things that we're listening to, things that we're challenged by kind of thing. And one of the things that we've gotten a chance to do is for OMF to start a podcast
Hmm.
to really just highlight the stories, to really highlight what God is doing through His people. Is there a story or a person that maybe that just really stands out to you that as you've been doing these podcasts here and getting a chance to hear people's stories, is there one story or one person that has really surprised you or challenged you?
Yeah. So you obviously, as you said, you're well aware that I am a podcast junkie. When I discovered podcasts, I was like, wow, this is incredible that you get to hear all these people and their stories and learn. You can learn so much from podcasts. And the information being shared can be a really great thing. Obviously, with anything, there's pros and cons. Um, but we started to share those stories years ago, and then you and I started talking about what would it look to do a podcast. What could we do with that? So we kind of toyed around in that area for a bit of time, many years back. It just really wasn't the right time, I guess. I couldn't line things up. But then as the team grew, comms developed, and then we got others on the team like Mike to be able to help edit and do these kinds of things. This was when it kind of came back and said, what do you think about getting involved in the podcast world? And for me, as I've said, I'm a junkie. I love it. I think that they can be utilized in some powerful ways if it's directed in the right direction. I said, I would love to do podcasts, but my heart is long form shows capturing testimonies.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I didn't want to do like a 5 minute, blurb or, a quick overview of something. I love stories. I love hearing God at work stories in people's lives, and to really capture a better sort of fullness of an individual and how God's been doing that. It comes in the testimony from the moment they were born to this world to the point in which I get to sit and record a podcast with them. And so we've been doing that for a while now, and it's great to see the show growing. It's called A Heart for East Asia, and it's on any podcast platform. And the stories, they're incredible. I mean, you take stories like our good friend Andy Smith, who at a young age in college felt he's called to be single his whole life. And him sharing that story and how
Yeah.
that unfolds, and then God leading him into missions and going overseas and in the Philippines now, and still to this day, a single missionary that God's used to do extraordinary things. Debbie Merritt, single most of her life, gets married later on in life, but started off, thinking I want to be married. So there's two different stories, right? There's Debbie who deeply wanted to find that right person, get married, spends decades single, but then finds that person later on in life. And there's Andy right away. I know I'm supposed to be single, so I got to fight away for all these other things that happen that try to draw me back into that, and gets to share his story and how God's worked through that. Even up until the point that I just did yesterday with one of our new missionaries, Amanda, who's getting ready to go to Japan, who's out in Hawaii right now, and hearing her story, which is a story of many tragedies and just hardships in life, being born into a family where her father rejected her and didn't want her. seeing her grandfather pass away at an early age, get into an extreme car wreck when she was 11, and seeing her mother laying there in this car wreck thinking she's going to die, and has this crazy interaction with God and surrendering to him in that moment at 11 years old. And it's a deep
Yeah. Mm.
thought process that she goes through to surrender to him. Only at 11, a couple weeks later after that, a car accident, in severe pain, nothing to do, gets online, and the Holy Spirit tells her to look up what's happening in Japan. And
Wow.
at 11, going, I'm called to go to Japan.
Mm.
Now 26 years old, getting ready to go,
Mm.
which is crazy. And you get to see all this unfold, how God has been doing this in her life. So that's the beauty of it. That's why I absolutely love doing the show. I love hearing how God's story unfolds in all of these lives. Since the time they were born up to where they are, and I'm grateful that we get to do it. And it's shared with the world, that people are willing to come on and share these stories, some of great suffering and pain and tragedy, others just beautiful, raised in godly families, and everything seemed wonderful throughout their lives and all these kinds of things. But everybody's stories and the chapters unfold in different ways. But it's just a beautiful thing to be able to record them and share them with the world. And hopefully people are listening, and it's inspirational and moving, and a real testimony to that God moves in some amazing ways.
Yeah, yeah. Rodney's too humble to say that, but he's been recognized already. Just to show the impact that people are listening to these and have been really just impacted by not just the stories, but how God has spoken to to the people that hear these stories, and just the way that the Spirit moves through the stories goes beyond what we can ever expect and dream of, I think. And so, yeah, it was really fun. Rodney, we were at a conference, and someone was like, "Hey, are you the guy that does that
You're
Heart
the guy
Fraser
on that
podcast?"
podcast.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, I got a fan.
yeah. That's awesome. Well, hey,
Yeah.
Rodney. Well, I just really appreciate just you, just hopping on, just to share a little bit of your story and just a little bit of the work that God is doing through you, through OMF, and through the Mobilization Ministry. And so, maybe I'll just give you just a little minute here if you got anything else you want to share, just with our ministry supporters. Maybe is there a podcast that you want to recommend since you're the junkie here? But yeah, open mic for you. Before we
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. Check out the podcast, The Heart for East Asia.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, a few things. Totally and absolutely appreciate you. And you and Becky, and what you've meant in our lives, my family's lives, over the many, many years that we've served together. Probably some of your listeners, that they don't know that, when I came back from Thailand, I was working with the Robert, who was the vice president for Mobilization at the time, kind of like his associate director. I don't even remember what the term was called back then. And just kind of walking alongside him as we kind of wrestled with what we were supposed to be doing in Mobilization, and where God wanted us to go, and how he wanted to direct things. And you were a part of that process in the early stages. And you and I became great friends, true brothers in Christ, went through discipleship processes together,
Yeah.
challenging each other. We would meet on a regular basis. When you and Becky were dating, I was
That's
the
right.
one telling you, she's the one, you need to marry her.
And I was slow.
And you were
very
slow at
slow.
picking that up. Up to the point where recently, it's been really cool that I stepped into that VP role back in 2016, and realized it was time to hand that role over to whoever was meant to lead it next. And in that process, I was praying and automatically thought it had to be you. I wanted you in that position. We've been through a lot together in life. We've went through discipleship processes. We've traveled together. were part of your wedding, all those kinds of things,
Yep.
your family and everything. And I just knew that God was building you up over that period of time to step up into bigger leadership positions. And this is a big one. This is not easy. People
Mhm.
don't understand the complexities of being a part of a fellowship like this, the scale it is, and all that it takes to keep these things functioning and moving. And this is a role that somebody has to fulfill at some point for this all to keep going forward. And when it was just time for me to give it to the next person, praying about you taking it on, and then I coming to you and asking you, what would you think? Would you consider this? And you guys did it. You and Becky did it, and you prayed over it. It has been an honor and a joy to now have been able to hand it over to you, um, and say, lead forward, man. And I'll
Yeah.
be here to support you, as long as God has me here to do it, because I stepped out of that role, handed it all to you, and I stepped in as your executive director for Mobilization. So it's been really cool. You're now my boss, and you get to lead whatever the next chapter is, the next phase of this work here in the U.S. as we work to mobilize in this missions discipleship journey, as we call it, towards reaching the unreached peoples in East and Southeast Asia. So all that to say, I'm super excited for you. I know you're going to be a great leader
Appreciate
as
that.
you lead forward. You and Becky do an amazing job together, not only um, as a beautiful couple in your marriage, but also as a father, and a beautiful mother of one, Rowan, and another one on the way. And so, yeah, just thank you for everything you've meant to me. Thank you for stepping
Yeah.
into this role and serving in this way. Super excited for when you get back, because you're on the partnership development
Development
journey
right
right
now.
now. Yeah, we're
Yep.
all those of us that enter into this type of work. We're well aware of the challenges of that, but God's good, and
Yeah.
we're just excited for when this chapter comes to an end of the partnership development phase, and you get to step back in as VP and continue to run things forward into the future.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Rodney. And I mean, just as our mission partners, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys before, but one of the things that actually drew Becky and I to OMF, just what Rodney shared right there, just this belief, and not just belief, but action in actually developing leaders and giving young people like me probably too much responsibility and too many opportunities to both succeed and fail at the exact same time. But yeah, but really though, it's been a really it was one of the things that really attracted me to OMF, that we have leaders like Rodney, and previously like Michael Littlefield, who
Yep.
and James and Lisa, just that who really just believe in the people that we get to serve, and are elevating people in just so
Amen.
many ways. And so I've just been really appreciative of that. So with that being said, yeah, I just want to say thank you again, Ronnie, for just hopping on here,
Thanks for
giving us
having me.
your time, and just sharing a little bit of your story here. Yeah, just as a quick reminder to all of our ministry partners, we're actually going to be in the San Francisco Bay Area at the end of May here, early June. So we'd love to see you. Love to grab lunch, grab a coffee, if you don't mind, Rowan running around and causing a mess and a ruckus. So, but with that being said, yeah, thanks again, Rodney, and we'll catch you guys later. See ya.
Thank you. God bless.
How do I end it?
Same. It's the same place.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stop recording. There it is.
Yeah.